Hi, I'm Ron Bateman, the Sheriff of Anne Arundel County. Welcome to your Anne Arundel's Most Wanted program, a program where we showcase wanted criminals, highlight open cases, and look to you for tips. You, concerned citizens, that share my same goal, and that's keeping our communities safe. You'd be proud to know that your calls have allowed us to put handcuffs on thousands of criminals. So sit back, set your DVR, or grab a pen and paper, and help do your part in catching criminals. You're watching Anne Arundel's Most Wanted. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a new guest on our show from the Annapolis Police Department, Lieutenant Timothy Lowe. Welcome to the show, Tim.
How you doing, Sheriff?
Great. Who'd you bring for us?
Sheriff, the first subject we brought is Ramon Domingo Dolores Estrada. His date of birth is August 22nd, 1975. He's a Hispanic male. His height is 5 foot 5 inches. He weighs 170 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. Sheriff, on November 24th, 2012, at approximately 21:22 hours, officers responded to Victor Parkway for a sexual assault that occurred earlier. The officer spoke with the victim, which stated that the suspect threatened her and touched her inappropriately. The victim was able to get out of the residence and call the police. The victim informed the officer that the suspect was Ramon Dolores Estrada. The officer obtained an arrest warrant for Dolores Estrada. The second subject we have is Robert Lewis Black. His date of birth is November 6, 1962. He's a white male, 5 foot 11 inches tall. He weighs 180 pounds, has gray hair and blue eyes. The charges for this subject is assault first degree, assault second degree. Sheriff, on December 6, 2006, at approximately 12:49 hours, officers responded to the 7-Eleven convenience store for a domestic assault that had just occurred. Upon arrival, officers found the victim crying and very upset. The victim stated that her boyfriend, Robert Black, had choked her and had pulled her hair. The officer obtained a bench warrant for Black. And Sheriff, the last subject we have is Shimon Vonzel Taylor. His date of birth is July 24th, 1998. It's a black male, is 5 foot 10 inches tall, weighs 160 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes. He is wanted for possession of firearm. On August 13, 2016, at approximately 18:04 hours, a subject responded to the police department to turn in a silver handgun that was located under a mattress in their residence. The resident stated that the suspect that was in possession of the handgun was Shimon Taylor. The officer checked the serial number on the handgun through the National Crime Information Center, and the handgun had been reported stolen. The officer obtained an arrest warrant for Taylor.
Very good. Folks, you know the drill. You know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911, 24 hours a day. Good job here, Lieutenant.
Thank you, sir.
So the Maryland State Police could not make taping this month, so the producer of our show, Lieutenant Jennifer Gilbert Duran, will be reading their wanted people. Welcome back to the show, Jen.
Thank you, sir.
Who'd you bring for the Maryland State Police?
All right, for Maryland State Police, the first subject is Jessica A. Boning. She's a white female. She was born October 10th of 1984. The scenario is on July 28th of 2015 at approximately 1:20 in the afternoon, troopers were dispatched to a two-vehicle collision with possible injuries at Interstate 97 and Dorsey Road. One of the vehicle operators, identified as Jessica Boning, reportedly fell asleep at the wheel and struck a second vehicle on the driver's side. After troopers made contact with Boning, they became concerned for her sobriety and administered field sobriety exercises. Boning performed those exercises poorly and was subsequently arrested and charged with driving under the influence of drugs and driving on a suspended license. Boning also had in her possession several different medications. Boning did have a court date on July 25th, 2016 in reference to the vehicle collision where she failed to appear, and an active arrest warrant is currently on file. Our next subject is Jimmy Daniel Recinos Gomez. He's a Hispanic male with a date of birth of April 8th of 1993. On August 4th of 2016, troopers were called to the area of I-97 and Maryland 100 for a reported road rage incident. Upon arriving on scene, troopers found a single vehicle was at that location with a broken windshield. While speaking with the victim, it was determined Gomez was involved in a road rage incident with the victim, and the victim had pulled to the shoulder of the road. Gomez got out of his vehicle and threw a metal object at the victim, striking the windshield, causing it to break. The victim did have photographs and a video of the event. After viewing the video, it became clearly seen a metal object was thrown by Gomez, and it was a knife. An active arrest warrant is on file for Gomez for the events that occurred on scene. And the last individual is Gary William Johnson, Jr. He is a white male with a date of birth of November 30th of 1968. On September 27th of 2014, Johnson was stopped on Maryland 100 for a speeding violation. Johnson did not immediately stop and continued approximately 1 mile before stopping. During the interaction with troopers, a strong odor of alcohol was detected on the breath and person of Johnson. Johnson was asked to perform field sobriety exercises, where he did perform poorly. Johnson was placed under arrest for driving under the influence, but refused to submit to the breath test. Johnson attended a court date on September 23rd of 2015, where he was placed on probation. Johnson has since failed to follow his probation guidelines, and a violation of probation arrest warrant has been issued.
Very good. Folks, you know the drill. You know the whereabouts of any of those individuals. Do not approach them. Instead, call that number on the screen, 410-222-1490 or 911. 24 hours a day. Keep those calls coming in, folks, because they are definitely paying off. Sure. Lieutenant Jennifer, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And now for those subjects wanted by the Anne Arundel County Sheriff's Office. Let's see. Our first subject, that's going to be Antonio Garcia Sanchez. Sanchez is wanted for failing to register as a sex offender. On April the 18th of 2016, Antonio Garcia Sanchez was convicted of a sex offense. He is classified as a Tier 1 child sexual offender on the Maryland Registry and is required to register with local law enforcement for a period of 15 years. Now, Sanchez was released from the detention center on April the 18th and was due to register again within 3 days of his release from confinement. Sanchez signed for and received notice of this obligation prior to being released, so no excuse there. As of May 2nd, Sanchez had failed to register with the Anne Arundel County Police or any other jurisdiction. That is why we are looking for Antonio Garcia Sanchez, who is a 56-year-old white male with a date of birth on November the 20th, 1961. He's 5'7" tall, weighs 175 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. His last known address, 103 11th Avenue in Glen Burnie. And our next subject, it's going to be Corey Jamal Young. Young is wanted for assault and malicious destruction of property. Story from a cohabitant goes as follows. During a disagreement, Young was trying to take the keys of her car. He then pushed her into a dresser. The female was able to get her spare key and run outside. Young gave chase, and as the female was pulling away, Young threw the keys at the windshield, causing a crack that ran across the glass. The female in this story applied for charges against Young, causing a warrant to be issued. Today, we are looking for Corey Jamal Young, who's a 37-year-old black male with a date of birth of January 28th, 1979. He's 6'2" tall, weighs 240 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. His last known address is 6504 Homewater Court, Unit 201 in Glen Burnie. And our next subject is going to be Taron Michael McCargo. McCargo is wanted for violating the terms of his probation for an underlying CDS possession charge. On November the 16th, 2015, a judge found McCargo in violation of his probation, yet his probation was allowed to continue. It is reported by his probation agent that McCargo continues to be non-compliant to the terms, with no completion of ordered treatment, testing positive for opiates, heroin, and morphine, and failure to pay court-ordered fines and restitution. So today, we are looking for Taron Michael McCargo, who is a 26-year-old black male with a date of birth of August 26, 1990. He's 5'9" tall, weighs 205 pounds, has black hair and brown eyes, and his last known address is 7717 Marbrook Road in Glen Burnie. And our next subject, that is going to be Jocelyn Pollard. Pollard is wanted for violating the terms of a protective order. The story alleged by the other party involved with that order goes like this. Repeated and harassing text messages and calls from numerous phone numbers, plus being followed and threatened by Pollard, occurred towards them after the final protective order was served upon Pollard. The victim of the ongoing harassment went to the commissioner's office and applied for charges. A warrant was generated as a result. So today, we are looking for Jocelyn Pollard, who is a 27-year-old black female with a date of birth of February the 20th, 1989. She's 5'4" tall, weighs 160 pounds, and has black hair and brown eyes. And her last known address is 1808 Jaybird Court in Severn. Now, folks, I want to thank a few people that let this show happen every single month. First, our county executive, Mr. Steve Shue. Also want to thank the chiefs of police from Anne Arundel and Annapolis. That's Tim Altamari and my friend Mike Pristoop. Also want to thank the superintendent of the Maryland State Police, Mr. Bill Palazzi. Remember, folks, let's keep Anne Arundel County safe. I'm your sheriff, Ron Bateman. We'll see you next time on Anne Arundel's Most Wanted.